Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
High-resolution color graphics.
This land of high technology.
The revolution in technology that made the information age possible.
Those kids are not afraid of computers.
We're keeping up with the Commodore. Christmas presents for some.
Snow Day Diversions, some ideas for your holiday downtime.
All I Want for Christmas. We talk Christmas catalogues and standout presents.
And more big joystick news along with home arcade worries coming up on this week's show for the week of Saturday, the 20th of December, 2025, which is practically Christmas as far as Chris is concerned.
Up-to-date news for out-of-date tech.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the final show of the year from us. We expect there will be the usual outtakes to look forward to, but this will be your first. This will be your last show until the first show next year, after a 2-week break. So
There's
we
no
hope you have a
outtakes,
lovely
Dave.
Christmas.
We're too pro these days. There's no outtakes.
There might not be any outtakes because we're so professional and we've never made a mistake. We've never burst out laughing. We've never had a go at each other to throw each other under the bus. No, not at all.
Never, ever.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to two special guests. As is tradition, we've got Aaron back, Father Christmas himself for Christmas.
Hello, everyone. Merry Christmas.
And we have Neil back because he was itching to come back on after being on as a guest. Neil has found his mojo again after finally finishing the pump house and having actual time on his hands. How are you, Neil?
It's nice to have time on my hands. Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. And I've just noticed as Aaron sat up there, he's wearing a Top Banana top, which is the king of all Amiga games, as he'll attest.
Yeah, Top Banana is something.
Absolutely.
How have you been, Aaron? What's been happening at Amigos Retro Gaming?
Well, it's been cold here at Amigos Retro Gaming. We had a big snowstorm over the weekend that froze my door shut, so I couldn't even get out of the house. That's so creepy, Dave. When you hold that up, play dress up with me. I hope you probably got better clothes for that thing than I got, to be honest with you. But we've been busy, man. Just doing what we've been doing for the last 11 years, playing a bunch of games, posting them up. I'm going back and forth, Brit and Boat, having a good time. Looking forward to the Christmas season. If anything, to get past it without screwing up. That's my goal every Christmas time.
And how about you, Neil? What's been going on with you in the cave?
Pump house. But I have been Christmas shopping for you guys. I've got you some gifts, but I couldn't decide. So I'm going to hold some things up and I need you each to decide what you want. Okay. Can I do that now?
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay. Do that now.
Right. I'm going to start with you, Dave.
We need to describe it for audio listeners.
Yeah. Your choice of Christmas present is Xenon 2 for the Atari ST or Dungeon Master for the Amiga.
Oh, I'll take Dungeon Master.
Oh, take Dungeon Master on the Amiga. Okay, you've got that. And then your choice of joystick. Do you want a Speed King, a Bug, a Competition Pro, a Zip Stick, a Cheetah, or the multicolored Power Stick?
There's two reasons I want to pick the Zip Stick. First, it's my preference, and second, it takes it away from Chris.
There you go. Yeah, nobody else can pick that now. So you've got Dungeon Master and a Zip Stick. You happy with that?
Fantastic. Delighted.
Okay, let's go on to Chris then. Chris, you've got
Brilliant.
Barbarian 2 for the BBC Micro with no poster.
Oh, no. So much promise, and then
Outrun for the Atari ST. What are you going for?
Oh no! Oh dear. I think it's going to have to be Barbarian because I've never played the BBC Micro version. Not that I have one.
Okay.
And at least I can scan in the box art and then blow that up into a poster.
Okay, I'm going to choose your stick for you. You're going to get the Cheetah Bug to play with that.
I have to play Barbarian with the Cheetah Bug.
Go.
That's not going to go well.
Jason, I think I'm going to know the answer to this, but you've got the choice of Infocom Solid Gold 3 hits, which is Leather Goddesses of Phobos, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy's Edge 1, or Ultima, the second trilogy. 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, no, definitely Infocom Solid Gold. That's a package I haven't seen.
Okay, you don't really need a joystick for that, but
saves on postage.
You can have the Speed
For the first
King.
game, you do.
Jason can have the Speed King.
I got you, Dave.
Aaron, you can have Pro Wrestling on the Sega Master System or WWF WrestleMania on the Amiga with VHS tape.
There's no way I could con you out of Leather Goddesses of Phobos. I mean,
this is your choice.
Well, believe it or not, I own WrestleMania, so I guess I'll take pro wrestling.
Pro wrestling with that fantastic artwork on the box art. And you can have the Competition Pro.
Oh, dandy. Thank you.
Which won't work with the Master System, but there you go. There you go. That's everyone's present. Happy Christmas, everyone.
Thank you very much, Neil.
You wouldn't get started select, Chris.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Good.
Jason, you've got Christmas stuff happening at the Retro Adventures, haven't you?
Yeah, we are going to do our second annual year-end chatisode where we invite, all the hosts who hopefully will show up, as well as all of our past guests. One of our past guests that worked on us with Robots of Dawn is planning to come on over. So thank you.
Yeah, that's me.
Another way to get some extra Dave Velociraptor content during the break, because that episode will drop, I believe, December 29th. We're planning that one.
Fantastic. I also did something. I was on the second annual Big Red Arrow Club quiz, which is a fun retro-based quiz, which we did on Saturday night there. It was tremendous fun. There was some real moments in it, which I won't spoil. Great fun. It will be coming out, I think, just before Christmas. And it will be probably collaborated with on this channel, so it probably will appear on the YouTube feed for This Week in Retro, but if it doesn't, we'll make sure there's links there. I had a bit of fun, so if you want to listen to me plus 8 other, in fact 9, I suppose, 9 other people having a Christmas fun quiz where failure is abound, then that's coming up for you. Chris, you get stuff coming up for Christmas?
Yes. Lots of drinking. Let's get into it.
It's been a rather exciting year for anyone with even a passing interest in Commodore, which is all 5 of us. In June, Christian Simpson, or as he's known on the YouTubes, he's known as Perifractic from Retro Recipes, announced his plan to save Commodore. He then went on seemingly to say why he felt Commodore was doing badly in its current ownership, and then approached them to buy and get a bit of money together and then buy them. He formed the company Commodore International Corporation to do it, and for the sake of clarity, later on I'm going to refer them to as CIC when I talk about any other Commodores. Of course, it's clear now that this wasn't a real-time thing. It was obviously had to have been going on for a while in the background, and he did, I think at one point, confirm it's been the culmination of, I think, 6 months of work or over 6 months of work. But he did indeed do it. He is now the CEO of Commodore, or as we've reported, a Commodore, and I'll come back to that. Next up for them was the surprise announcement of them selling new Commodore 64s. And unlike the Retro Games Limited, which was a system and a chip emulation-based thing, these were based on 3 projects: a replica case mold, a mechanical keyboard project called Blingboard, and the C64 Ultimate project. So bringing these 3 existing projects together into one package and presumably ensuring full compatibility and no little niggles with glitches and so on. Pre-orders opened and they sold tons of them. They set an extremely ambitious timescale for the pre-orders in July to ship starting in October, November. They've not made that target.
Did anyone here back it? Back it, buy it?
Yes, I did.
You did? Yeah. No. Aaron's shaking his head. Chris, no. No, I didn't. No.
Just Dave.
I think, Jason, you bought the board project within this before you knew this was happening.
Yeah, I got the Ultimate Elite 2 board or whatever they called it, and it arrived shortly before they said, oh, by the way, we're just going to take that and, put a different paint of coat on it, so to speak, and drop it in with the case and the keyboard. It's fine. But yes, I have, for that reason and some others, I have not jumped out to order a new Ultimate.
So they said shipping in October, November. They haven't quite made it, but they're not far away because they have now shipped out 10,000 of them, and they are making their way out. People have started to receive them. They are going to be under people's Christmas trees. Mine, I've got my fingers crossed I will receive this week. So I didn't think it was anything more than an aspiration to do it in October, November. I didn't think it was realistic, but they seem to have got nearly what they said done. The communication from them as well has been impressive. They've shown that they've been made in the factory. They're now heading out to people. And Christian said just recently, within the next week and change, which would take us up to roughly the time this show is released, he hopes that the initial £10,000 batch, 10,000 unit batch has made it to people. So that's fantastic if you ask me. But back in June, he downplayed the potential legal problems. He said, in answer to a question, filing a bad faith trademark takedown would cost about $4,000 max. There are many options for lawsuits beyond that, from using capital to pro bono lawyers to community lawyers, etc. Because the Amiga and Commodore history has been peppered by legal issues, and they have now resurfaced. So I would caution you that I'm not a journalist nor a lawyer. So take what I say with a pinch of salt. I've tried very hard to be accurate.
That is without Amiga coming into the conversation at all, though, isn't it? That's to do with Commodore itself, before we even go into Amiga territory.
Yeah. So this is the official CIC press release from John Errico, their legal counsel. Commodore International Corporation, CIC, has initiated legal action today against Commodore Industries, a 2017 startup unaffiliated with the original Commodore and its owners, to protect CIC's legitimate and exclusive trademark rights associated with the original 1958 Commodore brand. This step follows months of good faith efforts initiated by CIC to resolve the matter amicably and to offer a pathway for legitimate collaboration. There is much more to this. I'll put a link in the show notes. I don't think we need to read out all of it. So that's Commodore International. That's new periphractic Commodore going after the Italian Commodore that have been around since 2017. They've made things like laptops and games and magazines.
Other way round, isn't it, Dave? They're going after him rather than him going after them. Or has something happened?
Something's happened.
Oh, okay. I'm not up to speed on that.
Yeah. Now you are.
Yeah.
I've just told you.
Okay. This week in retro.
This is so this is the new Commodore going after the Italian one. But the Italian one have already been doing the same, as Neil mentioned there. Commodore Industries have been trying to have CIC's trademark struck off for misuse. And on the strength of that they've not been used, and that their theory is that makes them invalid. And I wouldn't want to have. I don't want anyone to think that I've got an opinion or know whether this is correct to do it or not. But the EU body involved has asked for a response from CIC, so they're both apparently going at each other, which is just how things have been since 1994. So again, important that I don't. Have I put enough disclaimers in?
Maybe a few more. Yeah. According to sources.
Do you represent Commodore, Dave?
Yeah, I represent both Commodores. I'm in charge of both. Yeah. Important to note that I'm not a legal expert. Next up is David Pleasance, former co-CEO of Commodore UK and now brand ambassador for CIC. He was at the Kickstart user group earlier this year for their 40th Amiga celebration, and he gave a speech on the future of Commodore, which I'm going to quote parts of it to you. He said, Neil, do you want to read it out?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can read it out.
Miss out the blue bits.
Okay. I won't attempt an accent because Dave doesn't have a particularly distinctive accent, does he?
No.
What does he? No. The one thing I can tell you, is that something that we is that something that we have to do, whether you like it or not. And one of the reasons why Commodore failed in the past is we are going to license people who make things for Commodore or Amiga. Again, Amiga coming up. I'm not sure why at this point. We're going to license them if they want to use our logo. But if you consider, for example, let me give you a great example. In 1992, there were 13 Amiga-dedicated magazines in the UK with an audited circulation of 680,000 magazines, and they never paid a penny royalty, not one penny. Now, that's ridiculous, says Dave. They were living off our name. We wouldn't be asking them for a lot of money, but maybe if it was 10p a copy or something. And that's because they made their living out of it. Can you see what an opportunity that was missed and why Commodore ended up going bankrupt? Because they were not getting revenues in from things that they should have done. I mean, I'm not sort of endorsing just the money for the rope, but I think anybody who is making a living out of the back of us should, or off the back of us, not out of the back of us, should be paying something so that I can tell you it is definitely happening. Okay, did that make sense? I kind of muddled through the quote there, but that's what Dave said.
Yeah, so this was him speaking at Kickstart 40. It's worth pointing out that CIC own nothing about Amiga, no trademarks, no ROMs, nothing at all. They have no... Amiga was sundered from Commodore when Commodore went bankrupt and went its separate way and has not been rejoined, except I think at Cloanto, where they own some parts of it. Jason, you're going to correct me here, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was not split up at the time of the initial bankruptcy settlements. It happened post ESCOM.
That's right.
Started to get that split.
Yeah, but yeah, they a couple of years later they were sundered and they've been separate ever since. So the new Commodore have nothing to do with Amiga, and they've no business talking about licensing it yet.
Thank God.
Yeah, so there are some clear ups and downs there. For me, the highlight is the C64s making it out to people to go under their Christmas trees. That is genuinely exciting. I've seen the package. They've got this mock-up of a cassette which actually contains an SD card. That looks absolutely fantastic. They've created a website so that you can anticipate it coming. I'm really impressed with that. Unfortunately, the Spectrum Next will not make it out in time for Christmas. Again, they had an ambitious timescale. They've slipped by a couple of months. I know that, on the other hand, though, Heber and their multi-system 2 is making it out in time for Christmas, Neil. I know that you see that in the mill happening.
Well before Christmas, they've been shipping. They're catching up still on all the pre-orders because it was so popular. But yeah, it is shipping. Many people have got it for Christmas. And this week we are filming the multi-system Jammer, which is a multi-system 2 specifically made for Jammer arcade cabinets. So quite a niche product, but you know that's what's happening now. People are catering to these niches, some of which are not so niche when you look at, for example, the 10,000 or so sales that CIC have done with their new Commodore 64. There is demand out there.
Hopefully, people will get Christmas presents under the tree. The new Commodore thing looks fantastic. But what's next for Commodore? And importantly, is there a place for them to make money beyond selling FPGA recreations? Can they credibly get a subscription base? Can they sell services? Or is there a hardware market that would last more than just the bursts of these orders when they launch a new product coming out? Chris, we'll go to you first.
Yeah, I thought I was going to come in hard on this one and sort of really go against what Pleasance had been saying there. But as it got read out there by Neil, I knew you'd pick up on that. But the key word there was logo. I mean, the whole idea of saying you can't use, Commodore or Amiga or whatever on a magazine without us charging you a tax, let's call it a tax, that's harsh. That's a move, to put it not so politely. But it does say logo, right? And so if you look back at the cover art of Amiga format and Amiga Shopper, they don't actually use the Amiga logo. Plus, let's remind ourselves that current new Commodore or CRC are nothing to do with Amiga right now anyway. So let's play the same game with Commodore magazines. If there's somebody who was to bring out a Commodore magazine, okay, I get if they're going to use the actual Commodore logo, that could be an issue, and you would want to charge for that. But there's nothing stopping people just calling their, as far as I understand, without being a legal expert, just calling a magazine, for example, Commodore Gamer, and getting away with that, maybe. I don't know.
The magazines always had the chance to pay Commodore to be able to say the official Commodore 64 magazine, the official Amiga magazine. They chose not to. Some I think did it at some point, but they chose not to. All the Amiga magazines did not want. In fact, it would be a selling point for them to say unofficial, unassociated with Commodore. We can say what we like, type of thing.
So I guess I'm wondering, what magazines is he talking about that made good off their name? Like, because they weren't using their logo. Yeah, but they weren't
just dreaming it up.
Who was using the logo?
He's just dreaming up. Yeah, everything would have been fine if we'd only gotten 10p for each of those 680,000 issues sold every month. And the answer is no. That would never have happened for all the reasons that Dave just mentioned.
Aaron, you were jumping up and down.
You said what I was thinking, man. The fact that anyone would even make a comment. I mean, listen, I was talking to Neil before the show. I like Mr. Pleasance. I've met him. Talked to him a couple of times. I mean, he's out there hustling, brother. So he's everywhere. And I don't think he's the official spokesperson for this outfit. the new Commodore. I think he's much like a lot of the guys they brought in. They brought in a lot of old Commodore guys just like as window dressing. But when it comes to what he said about the magazines, that's insane because the whole point of the magazines, you want them to cover your stuff. Where do they think the hardware and software is getting sold, brother? They're selling it in the magazines. What are you going to do? Ban them from using Commodores or Amigas or C64s your magazine? That'd be the stupidest move of all time. They're like a monthly catalog that shows all your stuff. So that, and the fact that, and much like Jason said, you're not going to, first of all, magazines, they have a paper thin margins, no pun intended. They're not going to give Commodore 10p a magazine. That's bonkers. Ain't nobody getting that. The rest of what he said, I pay a little more credence to it because I think that, in case I don't think anyone's stupid enough to think that when the Fractic dude made those we're buying Commodore videos and it was happening in real time, like that stuff had been going on for like a while. And so people I know that were approached, they had the sort of the inside scoop on a lot of this stuff. And since the deal went down, I've heard other rumblings about the fact that, yes, they are talking about enforcing that Commodore branding in some very goofy ways. So I do think there's something to that. I think they are going to try to make a buck on that Commodore branding. But I mean, the thing that gets me about this whole project is at the end of the day, like, what are we doing? Like Pleasant says in his speech that they need this money for R&D. How much money do they think they're going to get back? I mean, what are we building over here? Here at Commodore R&D. I'd love to see that room, like what's being put together over there with the massive amounts of cash flow that's being brought in.
All the problems that relate to Commodore 64s and Amigas have already been solved. There's nothing else really to make for them. The hardware you can get, the accelerators, all the rest of it, it is phenomenal what the community has done. So the idea of them coming in and say, okay, thanks community, hand over to us, we're in charge, give us your money. That doesn't work for me.
Yeah, and on top of that, I mean, what's going to be exactly slapped with this logo? I mean, could they take the Commodore logo and put it on Frisbees and T-shirts and mouse pads? Sure, toilet paper, anything. But I mean, do they think hobbyists are going to pay them a fee to put the Commodore brand on their stuff? They haven't been putting it on there, for the past 40 years or whatever. So I think it's unlikely that they're going to get a whole lot of money in their R&D coffers.
Dave, how much would you pay? How much would you pay to wipe your backside on chicken lip toilet paper?
I'm not answering that question. That's terrible, Neil. You should shame yourself.
That's not why I was putting my hand up. The community has been mentioned a few times. I just took some notes while we were chatting. So Commodore founded in 1958. The PET, essentially their first home computer, came out in 1977. So from 1958 to 1994, when they went bust, they were Commodore around for 36 years, right? 17 years of which were Commodore computers around. 94 to today, that's 31 years of Commodore not existing and the community keeping it alive and the community to drive it. So when Dave says, oh, we should have had 10p per magazine, just take a step back and reflect on 31 years of the community keeping Commodore alive and keeping it relevant and giving it love. There's a lot of value to that as well. That's the only reason it's still around now. They've just got to tread very carefully on that community side, because if it wasn't for the community, they wouldn't be here now.
So I don't know. I am quite's a bit of an understatement. I'm very impressed by what Commodore have done with the C64U. Everything about it has been great so far. So that gives me a slight bit of optimism that maybe they're going to be able to pull something out of the bag and have a product that, for it to work, people have to want to pay for it. People want to say, here's my money, I'm happy to give you this, and thank you for what you're doing for me.
I'm reserving judgment on what Commodore have done for that product in particular because it existed. They've pulled together some projects, they've packaged it. You've given us some great feedback, Dave, about how great their communication's been as a buyer. That's great to hear, and hitting deadlines, or just, October to December. That's nothing in the scale of retro projects going over. So that's great that they're shipping them and they've done great numbers. But I will reserve judgment until we see a all new project come out of Commodore from the ground up. What is it they're doing? Or what is it they're nurturing from other people through this licensing deal? So, reserving judgment myself on that side.
Anyone get anything else to add?
Aaron's shaking his head. Aaron, come on, let loose, Aaron. What have you got to say?
Listen, in the spirit of the holiday, I'm not going to cut a promo on this whole situation. If you've followed my channel over on the Amigos, you've probably heard me talk about this more than a few times. I don't recognize this guy's authority, brother. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not down with this whole situation, but I'm not going to sit here and drop the hammer on somebody right before the holidays. I know there's a lot of people that are excited about this. Hey, I'm not going to Grinch this thing up. I hope the Ultimate C64 is awesome. Everybody gets one of their tree, and they're very happy and satisfied with it.
I really can't imagine that the courts want to spend a lot of time on what really does boil down to a small potatoes trademark dispute. Like, it's very impressive that they've sold 10,000 machines and all that, but we are still talking about very small, very, very, very small businesses here. And to kind of echo what's been discussed, I am really looking forward to seeing actual reviews from people who have used Commodore 64 hardware at various stages of its both growth and decay on this new C64 Ultimate. And after that, I will be more willing and interested to handicap the odds of what they might do next and how much I'm personally willing to invest caring about those outcomes. What I will say, I'll say two things about the whole, like, what even would it mean for a Commodore to do R&D or some sort of future-looking, tech of some sort. To the future-looking tech, I will say, you look at the tech landscape today, it is literally driven by trillion-dollar companies, most of which have massive cloud infrastructure, most of which have some built-in way of extracting money, on every transaction, Apple and so forth, with the App Store maneuvers and all the, the 30% monetization tax and so forth. So going up against that, no. Short answer, no. To the point that you were making, Dave, when you're like, well, the community's done all of this research, all of these products have been created. There is room, and Gideon Schweitzer, who did the Ultimate mainboard, he's actually a really good example, because in addition to creating what amounts to an extremely good C64 implementation on FPGA, what he also did was he cost reduced a lot of other concepts that had exist into that FPGA core. So his flagship product before that mainboard came out, the 1541 Ultimate, that incorporated at a price that was very competitive with one of these gadgets, that incorporated a floppy drive emulator, RAM expansion, Ethernet connectivity. So there's room in an ecosystem like this for a Commodore, a CIC, or whomever to continue to cost reduce something. Let's say it's an Amiga. So take a lot of those projects out there and do a next gen cost reduction of it, where you're getting a 3-in-1, 4-in-1, 5-in-1, at a price you would have been happy to pay for one of those things a few years ago. So I think there is still room for that, whether it's the periphractic leadership or somebody else that does it.
I think that's exactly what they've done with the Commodore 64U, because if you add up the cost of the three different projects involved, what you pay for the Commodore 64 Ultimate and what you get is fantastic value. So there's room for them potentially to do that for the Amiga, because all the projects you need to make a fully FPGA Amiga exist already. So if they can bring them together and do them at a lower price, then that's where perhaps they can fill the market. But that's the hardware thing. So I was wondering if they had if there was an opportunity for them to be selling services, subscriptions, that type of thing that people were happy to pay. I'm not sure about that.
I think could they earn what we would call a nice Patreon base of people that just kind of wanted to support Commodore to do whatever? I bet they can do that. But is it going to remotely compare to the scale of any of the $1 trillion hyperscaler companies? Like no.
That's not all for Commodore. There's more happening. Our friend Pajako, who is the world's greatest old mummy collector, has let us know that C64 has an old mummy port. I didn't know it didn't have one. Starcade 2084 has linked us to a YouTube video from Kevin Nogi where he's built a C64 laptop. It looks amazing. It looks just like what you would think it should look if you don't think too much about a bread bin from the 80s. What it doesn't replicate from the 80s is screen technology. It's got a lovely screen on it that just could not be done in the 80s, never mind the 90s.
There was a discussion in Discord about potential products that Commodore could brand and release, wasn't there? And we did come up with one that I could get behind, which is a Commodore branded bread bin with accompanying video toaster I'd like that in my kitchen.
Yeah,
I'd buy a beige bread bin with some chicken lips on it.
Yeah, the beige bread bin would do.
Yeah.
That a laptop project is fantastic. I know, Jason, you saw it. A laptop project is fantastic.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So we've kept up with the Commodore for 2025 at least. We are sponsored this week by Pixel Addict Magazine. Pixel Addict Magazine is the finest 6-weekly production magazine that's not the Amiga Addict in the UK. Thank you for sponsoring us. What's on Pixel Addict this week?
Yeah, they've got issue 32 up. I think we're actually getting the information a little sooner than we're supposed to, because it does say that the top feature will be TBA, but they do have a nice cover up there. Aaron, for us, they're going to have wrestling games history.
Beautiful.
They've got the death of dial-up. I feel like we may have given a sneak preview of that story a little while ago.
Dial-up's died?
Well, it's like everything that's gone out of fashion. You can still find ways to do it. But yes, there's a bloody sign that it says "End of the Road," and there's a Grim Reaper on a green CRT. A lot of good stuff in issue 32 of Pixel Addict, looks like, which is Britain's best-selling tech history magazine.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And how often does it come out, Jason?
I noticed they didn't commit to a date on the front. So.
6 weeks, 6 weekly. We learned that after they've been sponsoring us for a while. And the URL, of course.
The URL is addict.media. That's addict.media.
Fantastic. www.
On dial-up or broadband.
Thank you for sponsoring us, Pixel Addict. Have a lovely Christmas time to all of those hardworking people.
So if you are fortunate enough to have some downtime during the holiday break, our subreddit community has selected some fun distractions, and I thought I would share a few of them before signing off until 2026. Our first submission is from Robert Crowther, and it's to the website Super Chart Island, which was new to me, but it appears to be a long-running site with hundreds of game reviews, and they're all pulled from the number one selling game title on some given week or month as found in a UK computer magazine. The articles are researched both from original resources like those magazines from the 1980s, and they draw from more modern perspectives. Because the charts are from UK magazines, the games do skew in the direction of coming from British publishers, but there are American successes to be found as well, as long as they topped a given chart on a week or month. In keeping with the chart-driven nature of the site, I really like this feature. At the end of each game article, you find a roundup of the number one performer the same week that the game was charting in film and record albums and music singles. So yeah, quite a few articles there. Just browsing through, I actually found the small section of non-charted games that the creator just wanted to cover anyway more interesting to explore. Currently, the timeline page, which I would imagine is supposed to show all the games in the order that they charted, that was a broken link. So hopefully that will get cleaned up soon. But you can still go through on a game-by-game basis and search through. So I'll just throw it out to the Christmas gathering here. How much stock did you guys put in magazine game charts? And maybe, Aaron, your perspective mirrors mine. Aaron, anecdotally, it seems to me like the UK guys cared more about those game charts than we did here in North America.
Well, we had game charts that helped. The American gaming magazines. I mean, and I keep in mind that I was a computer kid. I grew up with the Coco, a TR City color computer, and eventually got into the Tandy PC line. So then I became a DOS guy. But we didn't top 10s and top 20s and all that jive. I mean, I don't hardly remember even seeing that in American magazines. And it was just mostly reviews. And this is why the second I got my Amiga, I just started getting all the UK magazines because I thought they were way better. They were just like American magazines were more like they would cover a lot of different topics. I'm looking at something like, say, PC Magazine or something. I mean, there weren't a lot of gaming specific computer magazines either. I would get like Hot Cocoa or Rainbow for the Coco, and they would cover tons of stuff, not just games. I didn't care about the other stuff. I just wanted the game content. And to get that kind of action, you would go to the UK magazines. When I got the Amiga and I saw, Amiga Action and all these other magazines that were out there, I was like, holy smokes, just games. This is what I want. So in terms of a top 10, I don't think you could compile a list like this in America magazines. Not that I saw, because I don't remember seeing that much of it.
I didn't really pay attention to them. And I think as time went on, they produced more of these lists because it was a nice way to fill the pages of the magazine. But I, as time went on, I tended to go into the niche games where we didn't need a top 10 of Ultima games because you only got one every year or two. You didn't need an RPG top 10, really. But for things like the more action games and so on, I think probably that was more suited for that.
Was it Soft Cell was quite a big one in the US for home computer software?
Yeah, you would see those charts, I think, in the Apple magazines in particular, yes.
Yeah. I'm the same with Dave. We had charts. I didn't particularly pay attention to them. What I paid attention to was what my shop actually had in stock on the shelves. I would go and I would browse the shelves and see what took my fancy. But I do remember being in W.H. Smith's, the stationery store here that sold a lot of software, and there would be charts on the wall, and there would be videos playing on the TVs in the corner of the latest releases. But I can't say the charts impacted my purchasing decision. But like you, Jason, I like going back to see the charts, and I love the idea of what you explained of giving it context with film and other popular things at the time, because that just puts you in the mindset and puts you in the moment of exactly what was going on, because it's so easy to look back 30 or 40 years and get everything a bit confused and a bit mixed up and, mix up 1987 films with 1985 game releases, especially when movie tie-ins released 3 or 4 years later than the actual movie came out. So I like that idea. That's nice. I'm not familiar with this website, but I'm certainly going to check it out.
I'm trying to think. I don't remember being that aware of game charts. I think some of the shops that, like Neil said, they had them. I know Woolworths was very big on. They had the music chart. They had their movie chart. And I think for a while, did Woolworths put games up on the shelf in order of the top 10? I can't remember. Maybe a blurred memory.
Oh, that rings a bell.
Yeah. Maybe it was Smith's. I swear at least one shop did that kind of thing.
Maybe it was HMV with albums for all I remember. But yeah.
Maybe. but in terms of taking notice of them, I mean, if there was a chart in a magazine, I'm sure my eyes would have glanced at it. And if anything, it might have given me food for thought in terms of, oh, okay, that's the top 5, is it? And so you then go off and investigate. But it certainly didn't. It wasn't a major factor in my purchasing decisions. Not that I made that many, poor kid with a little bit of paper round money to save up for the next game. It was, like Neil said, it was based on, going into the shop. What have they got on the shelf? Let's pick up that box, have a look at the screenshots on the back, and that's how I decided what I was going to buy.
And perhaps damaged a little bit by the piracy factor. We had access to pretty much everything that we wanted to get access to through piracy.
Filthy
or
pirates.
swapping labels.
Most of mine were legit.
Let's not go there again, Dave.
Tell the story again, Neil. No, but for me, most of my games were legit. I've said that before. And so, yeah, it was a case of going in the shop, looking at the screenshots or your mates. I mean, that was the big factor, right? If your slightly richer mates had been gifted some good stuff over Christmas, then either you borrowed that for a very long time. I may have done that a couple of times. Copying was too hard because of all the manual, because I was into flight sims like yourself, Neil. So you've got all the manual copy protection. Wings. I was ringing up my mate Sean. Sean, page 59, paragraph 3, word 5. And he's going, flipping at Chris, and he'd tell me what the word is. And then off I'd go. But yeah, so it was what your mates had. Did you like that game? And then you might go off and buy it yourself or just keep borrowing it off them. Yeah.
Well, G7VFY, for your second option, submitted a link to The Eagle Obsession, which is a long-form documentary which is currently in post-production. There's a 12-minute teaser available now. When I saw the headline on our subreddit, reddit.com/r/thisweekinretro, I was genuinely wondering if this was about like the long-shuttered California producer of CP/M and MS-DOS computers. But when I clicked through to eagledocumentary.com and saw the title card, well, it became a little more clear because the title card is in the distinct angular font associated with the 1970 sci-fi TV series Space 1999, but the thumbnail of the YouTube preview had the documentary's creator talking to William Shatner on an Enterprise bridge replica set, so they're obviously trying to cast a wide net to get people to watch this thing. Yeah. So this documentary, it's not just Space 1999 fandom, but it seems like it's a very narrow emphasis on the Eagle spaceship from the series, a topic I must admit, as a non-fan of Space 1999, I'd never given much thought to, certainly not enough to have an obsession about it. I've never really give Space 1999 much of a look, despite the fact that lead Martin Landau is one of those genuinely impressive, I think he's good in everything sort of actors. And I know they made an effort with budget and storylines and such. So apparently, the Mac versus PC debate of the late 1970s was whether you were a Space 1999 or a Blake 7 fan, and I fall solidly into the latter camp. For now some narrowcasting Blake 7 content. I even like some of those third season episodes and think they should have gone further into the dynamics they were establishing there rather than literally and figuratively blowing everything up for the reboot for the final season. Would anybody else care to take sides in Space 1999 versus Blake 7?
It's easy for me because I've never seen any of Space 1999. I did watch Blake 7 now and then as a kid with my mum.
Okay.
And I remember a little bit about it. I remember it being a little bit more clever than a lot of the Monster of the Week shows you would get. I don't know if that's true or not because I've still got it to watch. I've got it on my NAS ready to watch them all, and it's been there. I've been meaning to do it for a while. One day I'll take the notion I'll start watching Blake 7, so I'm definitely going to do that. Is Space 1999 worth a watch?
I have to say, because I watch a lot of British stuff, I've never seen Blake 7. That's one I've never crossed paths with. I did watch Space 1999 back in the day because I also like Martin Landau. By the way, Ed Wood, he was great in that. If you've never seen that, I think he won an Academy Award in that. But I always thought it was sort of a dry show compared. I was a Star Trek guy, the original Star Trek. I still am. And like that moved at a good clip, brother. You know, you had Kirk, everybody's seen it. Space 1999 was a little more, I think, thoughtful and possibly tried to move more towards realism than the original Star Trek did. So I never really got into it that much. But I do say I think the ship in it, the Eagle, is a pretty decent looking ship. It's crazy to me that someone would do a documentary on it because I don't know how many people still even remember that show. You don't ever hear hardly anything about it anymore. You know, but for me, I watched some of it. It wasn't necessarily my bag.
I wonder, is the Eagle in Frontier Elite 2 based on that?
I wonder if that's where they get the name from. Very different ship. It's like the name you mean? Just the name.
I wonder if that's why they picked
maybe.
Just as a nod to that, yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember watching any Blake 7, and I watched a little bit of Space 1999 at a very young age, and for like so young that it was like, oh, cool, spaceships, right? And I had no clue what was going on. And then I caught some reruns years later. And I think one of the other key things was, as a young kid, I'd clearly missed the opening episode, right, that sets the whole story. And so when I watched it in a rerun later, I'm like, oh, the moon is flying through space. Right? And that's the entire premise of the show. And it was lost on me. But yeah, I've got a bit of a thing about Blake 7 because I had both ships as corgi toys, you know, the little models to play with as kids. But because I'd never seen Blake 7 on TV, I was happily running around the playground at school, flying the Blake 7 ship. I can't remember even what it's called. I can't remember what the name of the ship is called. What is it, sorry?
The Liberator.
Liberator.
Or could have been the Scorpio.
Yeah. I was flying it backwards, Jason.
It's got those needles that show you what direction it goes.
Yeah, but it's also got what looked like a cockpit to me, right? The green, right?
No, that's reasonable.
So
that's reasonable.
It embarrassed me in the playground, therefore maybe I'll never watch Blake 7.
Oh, dear. Neil?
These were a bit before my time, but we did learn when Steve Ferber came here, because I'm just a young man. When Steve Ferber came here, he told us about how in Blake 7 the cargo ship has a Acorn System 1 at the heart of it, and you can see that Acorn in filming. I did a quick search. There's no Space 1999 video game that I can find, but there is a Blake 7 game.
Is there?
For the Auric computer.
Well,
but it wasn't released until 2017. I haven't played it, but there you go.
If you're not familiar with Blake 7, the computer, it's called the Auric.
Auric. Yes.
Auric. I wonder if the Auric became the Auric, and then the Auric had to get an Auric game.
Who knows?
Nominative determinism.
And last but not least, Magical Mike submitted a link to a game that's still in development from the Tiny Build studio and developer Mandragora. Mandragora's previous game, published in 2024, was I Am Future, Cozy Apocalypse Survival. And I'm going to say that maybe the cozy concept has gone a little too far when it's preceding words like apocalypse, but this is a vibe that they are very committed to and are bringing to this pre-release title called Restory. I think it's sort of meant to be Restory, Chill Electronics Repairs. To quote directly from their slug on Steam, run a quaint electronics repair shop in mid-2000s Tokyo. Grow your business by carefully restoring iconic video game consoles, cell phones, music players, and other nostalgic devices. Talk to customers, hear their stories, and see how your decisions impact both their lives and your shop. It appears from the preview videos on offer that the game has rebadged versions of various tech devices, obscuring brands like Sony and Nokia, even though we can clearly recognize their products. But the Atari logo and branded Atari products like the 2600 console and the CX40 joystick are very clearly shown and named as such. So presumably there's some sort of license deal going on there. The game mechanics seem straightforward enough. There's point-and-click steps to disassemble, clean up, and repair all these personal tech items, and some sort of story element which is unfolding through cutscenes and interactions with customers. The game is listed with a planned release date sometime in 2026, but you are currently allowed to request access to their current playtest phase on the Steam store. So we have transitioned into a new era where soldering old gadgets, now cozy, casual gaming fodder. Does anybody want to say they're aggrieved by this cultural appropriation?
I came across a similar kind of thing, cultural appropriation of old tech recently. James Bradley, who is local to the cave. Bradders has released various board games in the past of the Civitas Empire, it's called. He's got a new game on Steam, which is coming soon. It's called Glyphis.io BBS. And it's a game entirely based on being in a BBS and hacking the BBS. So a similar kind of sort of premise, using old tech to drive the story. Not out yet, but I'll give Duncan a link for people to keep an eye on that. But yeah, when I first read about this game, it reminded me for some reason of Life and Death. Has anyone played Life and Death?
Yes,
I remember it. Yeah,
I've killed so many people with kidney stones that I think I would have the same amount of success with this soldering game. Although I'm sure that, they're not going to make it so that if, it blows up if you drop a piece of solder or solder the wrong bit to the wrong place. It's just, it's just a way to drive the narrative, isn't it?
Yeah.
Press X to solder.
I soldered professionally for a long time when I was working for IBM, and then eventually it became Lexmark. And the thought of playing a game where I do that is, I find appalling, frankly. I've never, it's like I did PC repair for a long time too. And I've also seen this like some sort of PC, build your PC games and stuff. These are horrible. I mean, to me, having done that day in, day out for so long, it sounds like a nightmare scenario that in my leisure time, I would pretend to solder stuff. I got a bunch of crap back here I need to solder now that I haven't done. So if you ever see me playing the virtual soldering game, my brain's left the farm. Check me in somewhere.
I think that's kind of the heart of all of these cozy simulation games, though, is that like people who run actual cafes are like, no, it's actually really stressful. I don't want to play a game about having to run a cafe. Yeah. But for others, it's like, oh, how lovely. I can decide what tea to offer today.
Yeah. I was looking in my sort of simulator collection the other day, and I've got simulators for like loading luggage at the airport, driving luggage around the airport, forklift truck simulator. Nobody that's doing those jobs is going to play these games, are they? But we've all wanted to be a farmer. We've all wanted to drive a tractor at some point, haven't we?
Or a digger.
Driving a digger. JCB, yeah.
I even stopped games like No Man's Sky, right? Or even things like Elite Dangerous. Because when I get to the point of going, this is harder than work. Why am I playing this game?
Yeah, like The Sims is like that too. It's like, what am I doing? I'm going to virtual work.
Yeah. No, I echo Aaron. I'm bad at soldering. I'm not as good at soldering as Aaron. I'm bad at soldering. That's why I wouldn't want to do it in a game, because I'll just be just as bad in the game. But I would show some interest if there's a level, because this is my reality, right? Where you simply disassemble something that's broken, and then you stare at it, not knowing what to do, and then you put it back together again, and then you realize you've got a couple of bits left over, but now it works, right? I want that to be a hidden level. Or maybe where you can Frankenstein things. And then I could relive the magical day where I took it was a personal cassette player, much like this one in my hand here. And I made a personal guitar amp out of it by just poking around until I felt I had a feed, started near the head and then worked backwards from there, and magically made myself a personal electric guitar amp. The distortion was off the charts and there was no way of fixing it. But that's what I wanted, so it was perfect. Yep, incorporate that in the game and I'm in.
That's a much better game, what you're describing. Sketchy tech. Get in there and try to take the stuff you've got. It's like, this ain't gonna. I need this to do that. That's the game. You just stumbled onto it, man.
It's just about working. Put it on eBay. Move on to the next level.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe give it a white and sunbright it.
I'm fine. I'm fine with this. I mean, if that's what you want to do, I don't think it's going to teach anyone soldering skills. But I quite enjoy. I don't mind soldering. It's quite peaceful. If you're doing a through-hole soldering kind of job, it's quite peaceful. It's only stressful if you're trying to do something where an expensive thing and you need to make sure it works, or you're trying to work on a tiny pitched, tiny chip, and you don't want to break your Voodoo 2.
Or if you're rushing it, if you know I'm setting half a day aside to solder, that's really nice. You put some music on, you sit down, you relax. You know you've got all your caps ready or whatever you're going to replace. That's nice. It's when you rush it that things go horribly wrong and you get stressed.
Yeah, and you never need to rush things for videos, do you?
Never. No.
If you enjoy soldering, I want to make this is a public announcement. Maybe you guys should not be breathing in the fumes. All right, that's not. I think this may be affecting your enjoyment of the game. There.
Wow.
I like to mention a fourth thing, another tangent. One of the guys in the Big Red Arrow Club, Dudley of Yesterzine, does a very worthy thing, and I'll just read out his blurb on it. Returning for the fourth year is Sub 5000 TV. Sub 5000 is a Big Red Arrow Club's feel-good, all-day TV channels playlist of lovely YouTube videos, adverts, and shorts. If this holiday season leaves you needing something to escape the world in company with, or simply recover in front of them, then tune into the playlist on this very channel and relax. This year's lineup features over 30 of your new favourite channels with their most upbeat videos that do not mention any major holiday, and goes live on this channel on the morning of the 25th of December for, let's say, no particular reason. So I don't know if that's if there's people who will want to do that on the 25th of December and not have Christmas mentioned. I can see that being a good thing for people. Or if you've got time off and you want to fill that time, then I'll make sure there's a link to it somehow out to us, perhaps pinned on this episode a few days later when Yesterzine's episode comes out. I thought it was a very worthy thing, because we've had messages from listeners and viewers who said that This Week in Retro has provided company when they're in a bad place. So that's what I hope this will do for people.
Thanks once again to Robert Crowther, G7VFY, and Magical Mike for these suggestions. I look forward to reporting on more of your submissions in 2026 right here on This Week in Retro. We thank our patron Carlos for upping his support level. Thank you so much for that, Carlos. If you were interested in joining Carlos or even electing a higher rate of support as he did, please visit us at patreon.com/thisweekinretro. You will immediately get access to all of the past exclusive content, including the new episode of 260 Weeks Ago in Retro, which will be coming out possibly by the time you see this soon. Sometime in the month of December. Neil, have you checked those out at all? I know you are one of our Patreon supporters, where we take a look back at what's currently the late 2020
I have.
episodes.
It's quite funny to see you go back over some of those old episodes, and I particularly like your top patron tier, which is where you get a free bald cap in the post. So that's the one to back, so you can wear it while listening to the show. Patreon.com/thisweekinretro.
Thank you. Old habits die hard, Neil. Should we accuse Retro Games Limited of watching our show to get ideas?
Oh,
we've
what have they done?
We've had a lot to say about joysticks recently. We had a whole episode about talking them, and then loads of follow-ups. So many listeners and viewers talking about their experience with it. And then a couple of days ago, they announced the re-release of the iconic Quick Shot 2. And I can't remember if that's one of the crossover sticks that the EU and the USA had as well as us, but it was very popular in the UK. Do you recognise that, Jason and Aaron?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Have you got one, Chris?
Well, it's the Archer version, and it's plugged into something, so I can't show you. I can't pull it. Can't get it across the desk. Sorry. Yeah, there you go. That's in shot.
You're not familiar. It's a digital stick, so it's just left, right, up and down rather than a flight stick. And this time it's fully micro switched, and it has a USB connection, and it has autofire, and it has 6 little additional buttons at the bottom of the shaft. It's supposed to be available for pre-order now, but I wasn't able to find it for sale in the UK and Amazon. But Chris, I think you pre-ordered it?
I've ordered it. The Gamesman is the at time of us recording, I believe, the only Australian retailer selling them, and I jumped on it as soon as I saw it because I know I can use it on the Spectrum, and of course I've got a pre-order in for the A1200. It's going to be the perfect joystick for me for that. So yeah, brilliant.
Do you want to know what the original was compatible with?
Yeah, go ahead.
The Atari video game system, the Sears Video Arcade, the Atari 400-800, the Commodore VIC-20, Commodore C64, the NEC DC6001, and the SVI 318/328 computer.
Would have also worked on the Amiga and a Kempston interface on the Spectrum, as we all know. They just didn't put it on the box.
And it has built-in stabilizing suction cups.
Gotta have those suction cups.
You know, I've been listening to the joystick talk the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to ask Jason this as well. You know, to me, you know, I had a Coco growing up, and so the Coco, you didn't get a choice of joysticks. You had basically 2 sticks you could choose from. That was it. You know, so until I got the Amiga, I didn't really get to pick joysticks. And so my buddies and me, we never really talked about popular joysticks or even cared. Like, I mean, I knew some like Wiccos were like sort of kind of around, you know, but it was not a big deal over here in my area. What about you, Jason? Did you guys talk about that when you were younger?
I mean, for sure, yeah, because I was in the Atari, you know, Commodore track, so we did have access to all that different, you know, those different options.
I guess it depends on the computer you've got.
It really was platform dependent, yeah.
Well, there were top 10 lists of joysticks in every pharmacist in the UK.
True.
They were prescribed to us.
Did they sell drugs in these pharmacies or just computer stuff?
Retrogames.biz. No, famously in the UK, you could buy games in pharmacists. That's where you got boots to go and get your cassette tapes.
It's funny because being a Coco guy, I couldn't get games at Radio Shack. They hardly had any. For you guys, piracy was a fun thing to do. For us, it was a way of life. We had there's no way we were getting anything over here, man.
At a certain point in the kind of mid-late 80s, there was games absolutely everywhere. You went shopping with your mum, you'd be in 4 or 5 different shops that you could nag her to buy a game, and hopefully by the end of it, maybe the 3rd or the 4th shop, you're nagging her, just give me a game. I'll be really good, Mum. I'll tidy my room. You would get one. There have been reports which haven't been able to be corroborated that Arcade 1-Up might be going under. There's been a widely circulated email to staff, or a reportedly email to staff. We don't know if it's true or not. Their site is still in operation. There's no official confirmation. So at this stage, it's a rumor. But we obviously hope that doesn't happen. It would be a terrible time of year to lose your job. So my thoughts go out to anyone there.
You know, the Arcade 1-Up, I've got to give those guys credit to a certain degree because they did get a foothold in a business I didn't think could ever exist in a store. But, you know, a lot of people would make MAME cabinets and whatever, but if you told me that someone was going to successfully pull this off and sell licensed arcade machines to people, I would have laughed. And I was part of the arcade community for a long time, and so they hated these guys. To be honest with you, they hated these machines. And of course, now if you're looking for arcade machines, these things have flooded all the for sale areas. I mean, you can't. It's hard to, and people try to trick you, you know, into thinking you're getting the actual machine. It's a shame that it went down like this. I don't know if there was ever a plan where this could have fully succeeded, to be honest with you. So I'm surprised they hung on this long, if to be honest. But I feel bad for the people a lot of people invested a lot of money in these things. So hopefully someone out there will pick up the slack and sell replacement parts for these machines for a while, because there's going to be a lot of people with a lot of these old dud machines that they can't get fixed.
Hopefully they're not going under. Hopefully something happens. But sorry to hear that.
Well, yes, it's Christmas, and yes, we did put a call out for Christmas stories last week, but even before that aired, CS Marauder was clearly tuned into my wavelengths as he dropped the perfect post in the Reddit, Christmas Catalogues. Oh. He did say, this isn't a story. Well, it is now, mate. It is now. I love flicking through catalogs, magazines, sales pages, pamphlets, or whatever as a kid. But even more so on the run up to my birthday, which was in late November, and of course, Christmas in December. The most standout item, actually, I'll reveal that later. The most standout item that I ever saw on the pages of a catalogue that I spotted as a kid probably at the age of, I don't know, about 7. And it was on the pages of the Freeman's Catalogue in the UK, which is very
not
similar
the underwear
to...
section, Chris.
No, that was later in my teenage years. Neil, we don't talk about that. This is a family show. So Freeman's very similar to Sears. And from the images I saw in the toy section, this thing just looked massive, and it encompassed 2 of my favorite worlds into one perfect item. And I wanted it so bad. And I, of course, made sure my parents knew. And boy, did they know. Because it was all I talked about. And I did this on the run-up to my birthday and Christmas for, I believe, maybe 3 years. It was at least 2. These things seemed longer as kids, right? But it was at least 2, probably 3. Because, no, I did not get this mighty present when I first spotted it. And it actually became an obsession. In fact,
Stop teasing us, Chris. What is it?
I'll tell you later. But I do recall this. That when begging with my parents hadn't worked, and neither had telling Santa, either in writing or in person, because I met him often in all the shops, I remember even trying to invoke a higher power. Yes, I prayed to God himself that he would deliver the goods. That's how obsessed I'd become with this one particular item that I'd simply spotted on the pages of a catalogue. So, guys, quick open discussion, actually. Did you guys ever get really obsessed by something that you spotted on the run up to Christmas that you just simply had to have?
I mean, for sure, yes, probably too many things. Apologies to my parents who watch the show.
Hello, Jason's parents.
Yeah. Check this out. So,
hello.
Mind your manners.
I had no idea, Mr. and Mrs. Compton.
Yeah.
Lovely to see you.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like what would be, like an unmissable thing. Honestly, I did pretty well. I was thinking about the catalog thing. Brought me back to what Neil was talking about when he mentioned Life and Death, because in looking through some catalogs recently, I was like, oh, I forgot that was out for the Amiga. That was not top of my list, but my my C64 was a birthday present, so there was never like a big machine, and I bought the Amiga with my own money, so there wasn't a big machine drop, but everything from race car assembly track things to certain iconic can't miss computer games. Definitely were high on my Christmas lists.
It would have been games for me. The Argos Catalog, or the Laminated Book of Dreams, as Bill Bailey calls it, was a good one, and like Littlewoods and Freeman's, as you mentioned. But the thing about those was they did have a very limited selection of computers and consoles. And then when you'd exhausted the 3 or 4 pages at most of that, you'd then go looking for loosely associated computer things like computer desks, and then you'd try and look for computer chairs, anything to do with computers. And there would invariably be an Atari 2600 or 5200 in there, sort of a decade after it was relevant. Argos always seemed to sell Atari consoles for some reason, long after they were relevant. But I was more interested in things like the Home Computer Club magazine when it came in. Software for hard men, it says on the front there.
Did you sign up, Neil?
I know Dave did. I didn't sign up. I might have done the sort of the cheap trial and then cancelled immediately. Could you do that, or were you locked in for 12 months?
You were locked in.
You were locked in. So I don't think I ever did it because I didn't want to get locked in. There's the Amstrad one there.
It was good. It really was good.
Special Reserve NRG magazine, if you were in the Special Reserve Club. So, more into that thing, or just the catalogues that came in games. Like here's a Microprose one that would have been bundled. And as we've been building the library in the Pump House, I've been coming across more and more of these catalogues and just putting them to one side. If they're in games, I keep them in games. But if they're loose, putting them to one side, because people love browsing these catalogues and just for the exact reason you're describing, thinking about the thing they were obsessed with, the thing they really wanted for Christmas. Strider, I was obsessed with one year and wanted that for Christmas. And when I got it, I took my Amiga downstairs, whole family chatting, having a lovely Christmas while I was sat in the kitchen with an Amiga 500 playing Strider at full volume. Microsoft Space Shuttle, that was another one I got obsessed with and had to have. But catalogues per se, hit and miss, because I always knew they would be light on the computery stuff, but I'd always have a look.
Fair enough. The post that was shared with us by CS Marauder, it was actually just a screenshot to a page from Sears. So it's a Christmas book from 1985, page 608. And it shows in 80s glory a Commodore 64 and available peripherals, begging you to buy it right off the page. And he's also given us a link to a collection specifically of Christmas catalogues for you to browse through. And these all go way back to the 1930s. I took a look at the Sears Christmas one from 1989. And sure enough, on page 619, I found the Amiga 500 with no extras at all. They were available to buy separately, not even a game bundled. And that cost $599 US or $17 per month. So
in the 1930s.
In the 1930s. That was 1989.
Hang on. I've got Aaron here. Aaron, did you hear him say page 619?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, these were big things. Yeah,
Can you please fix that for us?
I mean, he's not wrong.
It's 619. Come on, guys.
Yeah. Well, listen, I've been submerged in the culture for so long, I can't tell anymore, man. You know what I mean? But they were. I thought about the depth of they were huge back in the day. Those. We got the Sears one here that we used to look into. Most of the stuff I wanted was in the Sears catalog was like Star Wars figures back when I still liked Star Wars. They'd have these big elaborate setups, like a 2-page spread of these kids having a glorious time playing with their Star Wars stuff. I always thought that was cool. The thing I wanted the most, I used to go to the old Radio Shack catalog. I was desperate for a floppy drive for the Coco because I already had 2 big things of discs that my buddy's dad had copied for me. So they were just sitting there, and I was so sick of loading stuff off the tape. So that probably my favorite Christmas gift ever was the floppy drive. But I'm probably the only kid on earth that sat around looking at the pages of a Radio Shack catalog, foaming at the mouth over a floppy drive. But that's what I was after back in the day, man.
I don't have it to hand, but there is a photo of me one Christmas with my Amiga 500, and I got an external floppy drive that Christmas. And there's a photo of me just sort of standing next to it, patting the floppy drive and looking really proud of my floppy drive. So
my drive,
I'll share it.
I got a floppy drive for Christmas, a second drive for my Atari ST, because loads of games were in 2 discs, and I loved it as well. So no, you're not alone.
Do you know when I finally got my external floppy drive for my Amiga 500?
When?
This year at Paul's. That's the first external floppy drive I've ever had for an Amiga 500. Oh dear. I've also added, because obviously we have a big UK contingent, in the show notes I've also added links to the Argos Autumn Winter 1989-1990. Toys are at the back, electronic games on page 306, cameras from page 240, Walkmans into music systems from page 245, and there's a couple of joysticks in there as well, but no computers, oddly. Also 1991 to 1992 has some consoles in the toy section on page 338 or 338.
That's where they belong, in the toy section.
That's right, definitely. And also, because some years they did a separate catalogue for Christmas, didn't they? Yeah. So the Argos Christmas Gifts 1993 catalogue has consoles and games from page 10. So there you go.
I remember something about the Argos catalogue I really liked. They used to do this kind of a collection of all the different things related to something, and they would number them, and you would see a little number beside the things, and you'd have to go and say, okay, this setup of Star Wars figures in the particular setting and so on in the vehicles, and you go, that's number 4, and that's this. And that was great.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. And for me, I must confess, actually, it wasn't just about the computers or consoles and games, but it was about it's about the whole 80s and 90s aesthetic. But it's the toys, it's the TVs, the radios, the watches, and I just want to, even now, I want to reach in and buy one of everything. So yeah, any additional memories of flicking through catalogs, guys?
Well, it's so rare that we have an American on here. So, Aaron, I dropped a link in the chat there. Do you remember these DAC catalogs? It was for Drew Allen Kaplan.
Let me see here.
Take a look. These were, I submitted it for everybody to take a look at, but of everybody, you're the most likely to have seen these. This was they were always fun reads. They were a gadget catalog, but they were disguising themselves as magazines. It was very like detailed and hypeful articles about, wireless headphones and radar detectors and, single speed caddy based CD-ROM drives and so forth. I don't think I ever bought anything from a DAC catalog, but the marketing aspect worked. It felt like you were being let in on something, like, oh yeah, nobody else knows about this product, and this guy's really really found it to.
And how did you get? I mean, once I looked at the cover, I was like, oh yeah, I remember the logo and stuff. And I don't know how these things showed up. Were they just like mailers? Because we'd never bought anything from them. But yeah, I remember getting a couple of these too. So
if you remember, like if your household bought anything from a catalog, you would just end up on all of the other mailing lists.
Yeah, that must be it.
Yeah, so my mom would buy things from occasional catalogs, but then you just end up on everything. Yeah, Dave.
There was a very similar thing in the UK, and it was like it just worded the same way. Here's this kind of information. It was in a magazine format, but it was an insert in the Times that my dad subscribed to every Sunday. And you would get this out, and I loved that, but he would hand that to me, and I would look through all these gadgets, but they often strayed into things like waterproof trousers and proper shoes and all the rest of it that you would see, that kind of thing, as well as all the gadgets.
Yeah.
Do you know what I loved browsing this time of year? Oh, hang on. There's someone come in. 1 second. Hello.
All right. That's right.
Oh, hello. Yeah, okay. It's over there. Yeah, just ignore me. I'm just recording. Okay. Sorry, the air conditioning engineer's here.
Oh, cool.
Leave that in if you want, Duncan.
What do they like in the Argos?
Send him to my place because it's steaming hot here.
Sorry.
So, yeah, I mean, the immediacy of e-commerce can't be beat, and I'm grateful for all the flexibility and convenience. But like, I think this was true when I made my first online purchase, whatever it was 29 years ago, and it's still true now. Like things in print, sales flyers, catalogs, it just feels more legitimate. And I was really hoping, I could not find it. That Sears archive is great, but I was hoping to find like a sharper image catalog from the late 80s or early 90s. Like that would be something I'd like to revisit. Back when there really was a tiered difference between you, a peasant, and the things that luxurious fancy people can buy. And you might save up to make one of these purchases once in a very, very great while. Because e-commerce has really democratized like how and where we buy and what's on offer. That's probably overall for the better, but something's always lost in those changes.
You're not wrong. And I'm going to carry it a step further with the old Computer Shopper magazines. Man, those were great. And plus, you could find out where you stood in the hardware world of computers. It's like, okay, here, what page am I on? If you're shopping out of the back of that sucker, you're down on your luck. You're not if your ad's in black and white and it's in a little box. That's where I used to buy my stuff. And
you're a smart shopper, is what you are. If you're in there,
but you've got those things. You could beat a man to death with a Computer Shopper at the prime of it. And you're right. Having those things in print, it made you feel like this is a tangible product from an actual group of people that exist. I don't know what it is that's different, but ultimately you get used to ordering online, but it took a while for me to get there.
Yeah, it was the Argos Catalog for me up to a certain point. I think even before I got my CPC, it was definitely the Argos Catalog, and then I kind of drifted away from it. We would write lists for Santa, and even before we knew, so to speak, I think we'd an idea that the list had to be credible. So I remember trying to whittle it down between the things you would ask for from the Argos Catalog: Star Wars figures, He-Man figures, and the more expensive vehicles for them. And once I got the CPC, I remember looking at things like joysticks. But I think by the time I got my ST, I'd moved on to other magazines like the Christmas magazines, which were prepared in October, like ST Amiga format, for example. The Christmas editions were always bulkier because they'd much more adverts, because Christmas was just such an important time for the games and the hardware market. They must have sold half their year's inventory at Christmas time.
Sometimes they'd have two magazines, wouldn't they? They'd have a Christmas special and a December one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember picking out and getting the second disk drive, and I remember getting the 2 meg upgrade that way. But yeah, the catalogs are great. And I want to come back to the Home Computer Club one. I didn't know you had that, Neil. I'm delighted to see that.
I got quite a few of them, yeah.
Yeah, the Home Computer Club was this deal where you signed up and you paid 99 pence or $1.99 or $2.99 or something for, I think, 3 full price recent games. It was a stupid bargain. It was terrible, incredible. But the idea was that you then had a commitment to buy games at a discount from them. And the discount was okay. So all they were saying was, okay, you buy the games from us. And if you do that, I think you buy one every 2 months. If you buy a game from us, then you'll get this welcome pack at the start. And it was okay. I signed up and I did it. We kept in for the first year. And then after that, I went to budget games. But it wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible.
Do you want me to read you the deal?
Yeah, read the
Go
deal.
on, yeah,
So
yeah.
you choose your 3 games from the catalogue to sign up. They're based in Swindon, by the way, which I didn't notice at the time. So just down the road from where I live. So you put in your 3 games that you choose, and it says, should I decide to keep them, I understand you would charge me the special offer price plus postage. However, if I am not completely satisfied, I may return them within 10 days of receipt. My membership will then be cancelled and I will owe nothing. As a member, I agree to buy at least 1 item from each magazine, which I will receive approximately every 8 weeks during my membership. So yeah, you had to buy something every 8 weeks. That was your commitment, unless you returned it within 10 days.
And how long did the commitment last for?
It was a year, wasn't it?
I think it was a year, yeah.
Did they? Because I signed up during my Amiga period, so the deals might have changed slightly. But I recall if you didn't order a game out of a catalog, they would automatically send you the editor's choice.
Yes,
and
that's
you
right.
had to buy that at the sticker price, if we could want to call it
But
that.
it had all the opportunity to be cynical and to be a real nasty way to do things, but it wasn't. It was okay. The editor's choice was a good game. There were discounts. I remember getting Lord of the Rings, for example, the disc game, one of my favourite games for the Amstrad that way. So it wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
But Christmas catalogues, love them.
Well, the object of my desire, do you want to know what it was? When I was ages 7, 8, and 9, I've still got it. I still have it.
Big
This
track.
isn't a
It's a big
repurchase.
track.
Maria
No, it's not a
Whittaker.
big track. I did get a big track one Christmas, and I wasn't even expecting one. It's my AT-AT Walker. So this kind of makes up for selling all my Star Wars figures to get an Xbox 360 almost. But I do still have all my ships, and I do still have this is what I wanted because I loved Star Wars and I loved dinosaurs. Right? So this is 2 worlds in one. Fantastic. He's seen better days. So yeah, for those of you listening, he's missing the guns, he's missing the top canopy on the front of the head there, and missing other bits inside, I'm sure.
Get a 3D printer.
That's never going. The kids can bury that with me if they want.
Like a taxidermied pet at this point.
Yeah, that's pretty much taxidermied AT-AT Walker. Anyway, this topic is fitting because this time of year I absolutely love it, and in fact I have a playlist for anything on YouTube that's Christmassy from the 80s and 90s that I'll just watch at this time of year whilst having a drink at the end of the day. Lots of people have done Christmas catalogue flick-throughs, but ones that spring to mind are Ginger Hippie Gaming. I think he's done at least one. Dan Wood, I believe, has done some. And the link I'll drop in the notes is Nostalgia Nerd, who's done several. Another Chris... Yeah. True. Another go-to is historic Christmas TV adverts, and the channel RetroSpectives UK, branded currently as Time Travel TV. That's mostly UK, but he does mix it up, and there's some American stuff in there as well. And he does an amazing job just including the way he just presents it. And on RetroSpectives' other channel, which is RetroSpectives, he's just dropped a video called The 1984 Dixons Catalog, What's Inside. Now, Dixons being specifically an electronics store in the UK, and it's from the 80s and 90s, so that one will be a massive appeal to anyone who watches or listens to this podcast. And it's Christmas, a shameless self-promotion, similar to the way Neil's been holding up pamphlets. In the pickups I got last week, remember those games that I thought I'd missed out on and then got? Inside one of them was this pamphlet, which says an Xmas surprise. And in it, there's a list of lots of Mega Drive games, Master System games, Amiga games, PC games. So I've done a video flicking through those, so I'll cheekily drop that link in the show notes as well. There you go. Merry Christmas. And it's time now for this week's community question of the week, which last week was, what retro icon would you commission a statue of? Dave, are we out of contest mode?
Yes, we are.
Right. Who wants to read out number 1, Neil?
Yeah, thanks for that traditional muting of yourself, Neil. It wouldn't be a recording if you didn't try and talk while muted.
There I am. Hello. Sorry.
Hello, Neil.
Sorry.
That's staying in.
The trash can. That's the retro icon that I would make a statue of. Right. Yeah. Hang on.
Top answer is Neil from Retro Collective should have his own statue.
Yeah.
Just an egg. Okay, I'm here. Right. So the top answer is Calm School. Is that right? No.
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
No?
It is for
Okay.
me.
I'm sorted by best, so I'll sort by top. Okay.
Oh.
Should I sort by
This is why we
controversial?
sacked Neil.
Is this Darth Lovejoy?
Yes.
Yes, Darth
That's
Lovejoy.
a great name. Darth Lovejoy.
Oh, yeah. I had it the wrong way.
Okay. Oh, okay. So an egg. Yeah. He says, I think a statue of Clive Sinclair should be commissioned. The grandfather of British home computing, possibly depicting the moment he attacked Chris Curry from behind with a newspaper in the Leg of Lamb pub. Was it the Leg of Lamb or was it the Baron of Beef? I think it was the Baron of Beef.
Cam School 6270 6270 6270 says Lara Croft still going as a character today and defined the 3D game area.
There must be a Lara Croft statue somewhere.
It would be dangerous because it'd be so pointy.
Aaron, do you have number 3 up there?
I think so. Colony Activist chimes in the save icon, aka 3.5-inch floppy disk.
Yeah.
Which, had Neil not stolen that joke earlier, would have really rung. But yeah.
Sorry.
You tried, Colony Activist. You tried.
Sorry.
That would be good.
Yeah, a lot of good answers there. A little bit further down, I liked Western Bus 3381 or 3381 or Commander Jameson from Elite in the grounds of Jesus College, Cambridge. I like the idea. It could just be whatever you think he looks like, and we call that Commander Jameson.
Did you see the one that says it's tomorrow now? Says I'd love to see a massive version of the cheetah tortoise joystick. Now you mention it, Neil famously has from if you go very far back in Neil's channel, you'll see Trevor the tortoise, the icon of your channel. You haven't mentioned him for a long time, Neil.
Well, he's on the set in the pump house, so he is back. But what I'd like to do one day is get a Sinclair C5 and build a new shell for it in the shape of Trevor, and then be able to drive around in the car park in Trevor.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Doom Guy gets a mention. Wumpus Bite. Minor Willie, MDF 200. Lots of good ones.
I like
Have a look
Richard
through.
Shears down here. Maria Whitaker. That's a good answer. Yeah. That's your winner right there, man. That statue would be tough to maintain. I can tell you that right now. Get a fence ready, brother.
It's a statue, Richard.
She's a very nice lady. She doesn't deserve that.
No. That's why Chris will have a restraining order.
That's right. Yeah. In fact, I'll look after the statue.
For the long break, because remember, it's rather than 1 week between shows, it's 3 weeks because we've got a 2-week holiday. For the next episode, we want you to answer the question, what's the retro news that you're hoping to hear in 2026, 2026, 2026?
Shipping date for the Spectrum next. That's all I want to know about. That's all I want to know about.
So thank you very much for our guest this week. We've overrun. Duncan will kill us. We've overrun, but that was always expected, I think. Thank you for being with us all year. Some of the comments, some of the reviews that you leave for us are really inspirational, helping us motivate ourselves to put in the effort to do this every week. Thank you, Duncan, who puts in the most effort. We will be joining you next year in 2026 for more This Week in Retro. But from us this year, goodbye.
Bye-bye. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, guys. Thanks for joining us.
They're waving.
Everybody's waving.
This Week in Retro was written and presented by Chris from 005 Agema, Jason from the Retro Adventurers, and Dave. It was edited by me, Duncan Stiles. The podcast version of the show is available through your favourite podcast app, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And the video version is available on the This Week in Retro YouTube channel.
Join our community subreddit at r/This Week in Retro to suggest and vote on the stories we cover on the show. Please give us a like and subscribe to help us reach new viewers.
If you enjoy our show and would like to support it, then please check out the link to our Patreon page in the show notes or description. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time for more up-to-date news for out-of-date tech.